Hey, welcome to the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute with your host, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest, Alan Bishop. Hey, this channel is all about home distilling and legal distilling. If you've got questions, reach out to us in the comments below, social media, or via bishopshomegrown@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out thealchemistcabinet.com. Hey guys, finally getting around to recording some new One Piece at a Time videos. I do apologize for the delay in newer videos and having to put up a couple of the lost videos recently, but summer and it's busy and the garden's going crazy and the farm's hard to keep up with and work is hard to keep up with and consulting's hard to keep up with, and sweaty as hell right now because I just got out of the garden after working today, so bear with me. I apologize, but here to answer some more of your questions with some more talking head videos. I hope you guys aren't tired of them yet. Also, getting ready to go speak this evening for, I believe, the Orange County Historical Society in Orange County, Indiana, about the history of distilling in the state of Indiana. I always have a great time doing that. I might try to film some of that and upload it if I can. We will see. I don't know what the rules with that are, or if I'll even have time to mess with it, but potentially that's a possibility. Otherwise, before I leave this evening, I'm getting ready to do a bulk dump of One Piece at a Time Sacred and Profane episodes. So for those of you who are not familiar with the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute Sacred and Profane, it is a podcast available via Spotify, usually 20-minute or so episodes. Right now we're in a series where we're going through sort of historic natural fermentation and distillation in the state of Indiana from about 1807 forward into the 1830s, 1840s. And I think there's a lot of great information in there for you guys that might want to experiment with an older style of distillation, specific to Hoosier style apple brandy, peach brandy, etc. I try to make those as interesting as I can, cover as much info as I can without miring myself down in the details necessarily, make them nice little listenable tidbits that you guys can get some information from and do something really cool with. So also coming up soon, made base with, of course, you know, the guys who are stepping up into Ben Quady's place at Bad Motivator. So barrel deal there is still going on, so I'll still be reviewing Bad Motivated barrels, which I'm very, very excited about. I'm just glad to see those guys moving forward with Ben's dream. Secondarily, 1030 Barrels reached out to me, and so I'll be doing some work with them as well. If you're not familiar with them, they're very similar to Bad Motivator, but just a smaller format with some different woods, etc. So both are exciting projects on the horizon. Been working as well with an documentary filmmaker from IU for a little while now on a Indiana distillation-centric documentary, which I think is going to be really, really neat. He's interviewed a lot of the distillers here in southern Indiana, in Indiana as a whole, a lot of the craft distillers. He's talked to me about history. We're going to go visit some of the old still sites and stuff. I think we're going to get one or two bourbon celebrities involved, and it sounds like we might even have a really cool local to Washington County, Indiana soundtrack from a friend of mine, but we'll see how that goes. Anyways, let's jump into these questions. As always, if you have questions, reach out to me at bishopshomegrown@gmail.com, the YouTube comments below, and or any of my social media. If I don't get back to you immediately, it's because I probably didn't see it or I'm just absolutely overwhelmed. One of the two. There's flies out here on the porch. I do apologize, guys, for that. So we live down next to the creek, and so the fly problem down here is pretty legitimate. But from Roger Himmelberger, get that out in a minute. Roger Himmelberger. Alan, hello. Thank you for answering my absinthe question on Facebook. I just purchased your book of your recommendation. Looking forward to making it. Looking forward to making it. Okay, sorry. Question for you on wild yeast collection. Did I hear on a podcast you collect wild yeast at old distilleries? I live 20 minutes away from the original Michter's distillery in PA. If it's something I would love to try. I looked online and saw sugar, water in a jar and let set. Am I on the correct path? Are there places better to set better than others, or am I just way off my rocker? Thanks much, R. So also, guys, I do talk about yeast traps a little bit in the two books, the Alchemist Cabinet Volume 1 and Volume 2, which you can buy at thealchemistcabinet.com in the warehouse section. Those books are still available. Sometimes, if you're getting the autograph version, we're a little slow getting those out to you, and it's because the printer is slow getting them to us so that I can sign them and send them back out to you. But the books are still available, and I am working on part 3 right now. I have talked on the channel before previously about capturing wild yeast or capturing, old cultivated yeast, etc. And yes, Roger, you're 100% right. I have captured a lot of yeast from old distilleries and old still sites here in southern Indiana. As those of you who kind of follow the channel know, yeast tends to Alcohol tolerant yeast tends to become the strongest organism in the localized area. In other words, it's the strongest fermenter in the localized area, and it will outcompete a lot of the wild yeast. Now, if you're talking about a distillery that's been closed for over 100 years, yeah, you probably don't have the exact same yeast strain, because yeast strains do mutate over time, but you probably have something pretty close to that original yeast strain. And the easy way to know is to capture that yeast strain, culture it, and then ferment something with it. If it ferments fast and hard in 3 to 5 days, on an all grain or an all fruit, it smells good and it tastes good and it distills well, it's probably worth having that yeast. We've talked about that many times. But you're on the right track here, Roger. The big thing is, I would say you're better off to actually do one of two things. Either use the material you're going to make the whiskey and or the brandy from, i.e. if you're going to do a sugar shine, then yeah, grain and sugar water, that's fine to capture the yeast with and to even culture the yeast with. If you're going to be making brandy with that yeast, you probably want to use a sterilized brandy slurry. You want to sterilize all these, and what I mean by that is boil the hell out of them is what you want to do to make sure there's no yeast in there, and also sterilize the jars or the containers you use otherwise to capture this yeast. You know, if you're going to make an all grain whiskey, use all grain. And honestly, the very best combination that I've seen thus far for any method of capturing yeast is to convert half barley malt and half rye malt and use that to capture your yeast with. That seems to work the best. It seems to work the best at culturing it as well. There's something about that barley malt and that rye malt that the yeast really loves, and that's what all the old time distillers do or did. So as far as places to capture them, if there's nothing left of an old distillery, you know, look around for fruit trees, look around for blackberry bushes, raspberry bushes, places where yeast is going to be commonly in nature because it's breaking down things that it can feed off of. Those are always going to be good places to capture from, either open to the atmosphere. Usually I'll take a piece of cheesecloth and put over top of a mason jar and then screw the lid, or not the lid, but the ring of the mason jar down over the cheesecloth so it can't come off of there. That keeps insects, mice, etc. out. Or if there is a building, you know, your best chance is to find a place. Oh, sorry, back to the fruits. I forgot to mention this. You can leave it out in the air for, you know, 12 hours, come back, pick it up, watch it ferment, etc. And if you go back through the channel, you'll find all the protocols exactly for that, for sure. Or you can take a flower or even the fruit off of that plant and dip it down into that mash or wash and get it going off of that way. If you're actually going to go into an old building, your best chances of finding yeast are going to be to find the fermentation room or fermentation related equipment. Sometimes you can even make a sterile swab and swab that and drop it into that mash to start that yeast strain. That's what we did when we went to Earthbound Brewing in the Cherokee Hills Cave system in St. Louis. It's also what I did at Springville State Park from one of the old 1800s 120-gallon hogshead fermenters. I was able to actually swab the inside of that fermenter to get that yeast strain. As far as anywhere else to set it around, like if there's nothing left or you don't know, I mean, if there's a building left but there's no infrastructure left, you don't know where anything was set up at, I would set up multiple jars is what I would do. 6 or 7. This is what I did at the McCoy Distillery. And you can see that video here on One Piece at a Time too. It was put up forever ago, years ago. But put out 6 or 7 different jars or containers to capture that yeast in. Let them set for 12 to 24 hours. Come back, grab them, take a look at them, observe them, see which ones do the best. Maybe they all do the exact same thing, right? But again, if it ferments fast, it smells good, it tastes good, distills well, you're on to something that's worth keeping for sure. And I'm glad to see more and more people getting into this. Be sure too, if this is something that you're just now becoming aware of, that you can capture and cultivate your own yeast, that you do go back through the channel and you watch some of the other videos, because what you're going to see is that I've got videos on here not only about capturing and cultivating those, but with lots of tips and tricks in them, as well as ways to make your own dry yeast, as well as ways to keep it in a Donna jug, as well as ways to make a yeast log, etc. So this is something I'm very big on, very keen on. I think every distiller in the United States, whether they're a home distiller or a legal distiller, should have at least one yeast strain that is their own accord. I also believe, though, that if you're a distiller in the United States, you make corn whiskey and or you make bourbon, you should have at least one strain of corn that is your own that no one else has, because it's not that hard to breed corn unless you're, you know, in a very far northern climate, but even then there are options. So I'm just throwing that out there. Anyways, Roger, that was a great question. I really appreciate it, guys. As always, please keep your questions coming, because if you don't, it makes this channel a little hard to run. You know, not everything can be a production video, and to be honest with you, I don't always feel the most comfortable doing production videos. For obvious reasons of employment, etc. So I really appreciate your support of this channel, really appreciate your support of the books, the Alchemist Cabinet, etc. And don't forget to check out that One Piece at a Time Sacred and Profane podcast. I think you'll really enjoy it. while you're at it, when you're done, if you're into the paranormal, the Fortean, high strangeness, etc., make sure you check out the If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything podcast, where we go down all of those strange roads. All right, guys. Love y'all. Later.